ओके हेलो। सो आज डे वन है इस बुक को रीड करने का, रिच डैड पुअर डैड बाय रॉबर्ट टी कियोसाकी। बहुत ही वंडरफुल बुक है। इस बुक को मैंने पहले रीड कर लिया था, ठीक है। तो ये सेकंड टाइम है इस बुक को रीड करने का, और मैंने सोचा इस बार क्यों ना रीड कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि उसको रिकॉर्ड किया जाए, उसको यूट्यूब में अपलोड किया जाए। सो या लेट्स गेट स्टार्ट। सो फर्स्ट पेज इज जस्ट लाइक दैट इन दिस रिच डैड पुअर डैड इन अ बिग सेशन. Okay, USA Today. Rich Dad Poor Dad is a starting point for anyone looking to gain control of their financial fortune or financial future, just like us. Okay, so yeah, let's get started with this book. Hmm. Okay, so 1997 में ये बुक सबसे पहली बार प्रिंट हुई थी। 25 साल हो चुके हैं इस बुक को आज, ठीक है। 25 ईयर्स इस बुक को आज हो चुके हैं। इसमें है इम्पोर्टेंट वाई माइलस्टोन्स आर इम्पोर्टेंट. Why milestones are important? People of all cultures and countries celebrate milestones. We use them to measure time, mark progress, and reflect on the lessons we have learned. We celebrate accomplishments. They are a way that we integrate past, present, and future. Looking back at where we started, where we are today, and we promise of all of that the future can hold. Milestone gives meaning to a journey to help us to not only savor each small steps but celebrate the leap or bounds that catapult us forward. Whether it's birthday or anniversary, the number of years a business has outlasted the competitions, the death of icon, or an innovation that will change our lives. Milestones are the part of all that we are and all that we will become. A quarterly century was passed since Rich Dad was first published. 25 years since April 8, 1997, and so many things in world has changed. The other thing that has not changed is our pressing needs for the power of financial education. So we all need the power to accomplish the financial education. So yeah, let's get started. इस बुक में बहुत सारे अलग अलग चैप्टर्स हैं। सम अप किया गया है कि कैसे कोई भी अपने आप को फाइनेंशियल इंडिपेंडेंट बन सकता है, कि वी आर नॉट वर्क फॉर मनी, वी आर मनी हैव टू वर्क फॉर अस. Okay, so yeah, let's get started. Dedication, content, dedication to to parents everywhere, and a child's first and the most important teacher, and all to all those who educate, influence, and lead by example. So there's also some of the best-selling books of Robert T. Kiyosaki you see over here. So yeah, let's get started. 25 year of anniversary. Okay, so 25 years. The first page is we start 25 years. 25 years ago that we reached our first major milestone. Marketing 20 years since Rich Dad and Poor Dad was first published. I wrote these words. The Beatles released by Sack Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club brand album on June 1. 1967, it was an immediate commercial and critical success, spending 27 weeks at the top of the album chart in the UK. 15 weeks at the number 1 in the United States. Time magazine declared Sack Pepper a historic department in the progress of music. It won 4 Grammy Awards in 1968 as well as the Album of the Year, the first rock album ever to receive that honor. Rich Dad was released 20 years on my fifth birthday on April 8, 1997. Unlike the Beatles' story, the body was not an immediate commercial success. It is not a critical success. In fact, the book's release and the firestorm of criticism that followed was quite the opposite. Rich Dad was originally a self-published because every book publisher were approached to turned my book down. A few rejection slip offered comments like, "You do not know what you are talking about." I learned the most publishers are more likely to have highly educated poor dad than my rich dad. Most publishers discarded with my rich dad's lesson on money, as did my poor dad. 20 year today. 1997 In 1997, Rich Dad Poor Dad was right warning, a book of lesson about the future. 20 years later, millions of people around the world are more aware of my rich dad's warning and this lesson about the future. With 2020 insights, many have said that this lesson were prophetic prediction comes true. A few of those lessons are: lesson number one, Rich Dad's lesson number one: the rich don't work for money. Okay. 20 years ago, the few publishers turned my book down because they did not agree with Rich Dad's number one lesson. Today, people are more aware of growing divides between the rich and everyone else. Between 1993 and 2010, over 50% of increase in the national income in United States were the wealthiest 1%. Since then, things have more only gotten worse. Economist at University of California found that 95% of the income gains between year 2009 and 2012 also went to the wealthiest 1%. The lesson: the increase in income are going to entrepreneurs and investors, not to employees, not to the people who work for money. Rich dad lesson: savers are losers. ठीक है. 20 years ago, most publishers vehemently disagreed with this lesson from Rich Dad. For the poor and middle class, saving money is a religion, it's financial salvation for poverty and protection from the cruel world. For many people, calling savers losers is like taking God's name in vain. The lesson: the picture is worth 1,000 words. Take a look at the chart of 120 years of Dow Jones Industrial Average. You will see there why how savers become losers. The chart that shows have been three massive stock market crashes in first 10 years of the new century. The chart below illustrates these three crashes. If you see this chart over here, you will have the clear idea about what I am talking about. So yeah, I see this chart is that in 1995 there was still constant flow till 2000 uh, till 19 something. After that there was rapidly increasing investment. The first crash was dot-com crash around the year 2000. The second and third crash were the real estate crash 2007, followed by the banking crash of 2008, a giant crash in 1992. When you compare the first three crashes of the 21st century of the giant crash of 1929, you gain a perspective of how truly giant the first three crashes of this century were. Printing money. So you see a giant crisis picture over here. This is a one picture and this is your second picture. So if I do this, you can clearly visible both two pictures. You can also take a screenshot and read these pictures briefly. So yeah, saving the riches. Between the years 2000 and 2000 to 2016, in the name of saving the economy, the banks of the world kept cutting interest rate and printing money. While our leaders want us to believe they were saving the world, in reality the rich were saving themselves and through the people of poor and middle class under the bus. Today, the interest rate in many countries are below zero, which is why savers are losers. Today, the biggest loser are the poor and middle class, the people who work for money and save money. Rich dad lesson: your house is not an asset. 20 years ago, in 1997, every publisher who sent a rejection slip criticized Rich Dad's lesson that your house is not an asset. 10 years later, in 2007, when subprime borrowers began to default on their subprime mortgage, the world's real estate bubbles burst and millions of homeowners found out the truth in that lesson the hard way. Their house was not an asset. That's the fact. The real problem. Most people do not know that the real estate crash was not really a real estate crash. Poor people did not cause the real estate crash. Rich caused the real estate crash. The rich created financially engineered product known as derivatives product Warren Buffett has called weapon of mass financial destruction. When the financial weapon of mass destruction started to explode, the real estate market crashed, and poor and subprime borrowers were blamed. But not the way. But this is not the way you are talking about. In 2007, that were the estimated 700 trillion in financial derivatives. Today, it is estimated there are 1.2 quadrillions in financial derivatives. Yeah. So, rich dad lessons. Why the rich pay less in taxes? This is a very big question. Why क्यों rich people हमेशा कम टैक्स पे करते हैं? So, 20 years ago, a few publishers criticized Rich Dad Poor Dad for disclosing how and why the rich pay less in taxes. One stated that lesson was illegal. 10 years later, in 2007, President Barack Obama was running for re-election against former Governor Mitt Romney. When it was disclosed that President Obama paid approximately 30% of his income in taxes and Governor Romney paid less 30% in taxes, Mitt Romney began the downhill slide that would cost him the election. Taxes again were a focal point in 2016 US presidential election. Rather than find out how the people like Mitt Romney and the President Donald Trump pay less in taxes legally, the poor and middle class get angry. While President promises to reduce the taxes for poor and middle class, the reality is that rich will always pay less in taxes. The reason the rich pay less in taxes goes back to Rich Dad's lesson number one. The rich doesn't work for money. As long as the person work for money, they will pay tax. Even the presidential candidate Hillary Clinton was promising to rise to the taxes on the rich. She was promising to rise the taxes on those with high income. People like doctors, actors, lawyers, not the real rich. 20 years ago, the rich dad was not immediately, the rich dad was not immediately success. Like the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper albums, Rich Dad Poor Dad did make the New York Times best-selling list by the year 2000 and stay on that list nearly 20 years, 7 years, sorry. Also in the year 2000, Oprah Winfrey called I was on Oprah for the entire house, and as they say, the rest is history. The Rich Dad become the number one personal finance book in history with sales on the Rich Dad series of book estimated at nearly 40 million of copies worldwide. It's a huge. Was there really a rich dad? Millions would have asked. Was there really a rich dad? To answer that question, you can listen the Rich Dad's lesson. Mike, when he was a guest on the Rich Dad radio show, you can listen that program to going to richdadradio.com as well. Okay. Rich Dad Graduate School, Rich Dad Poor Dad was written as simply as possible so that almost everyone could understand. My Rich Dad's lesson for those who want to learn more and the part of the 20 years of celebration. I wrote why the rich are getting richer and what is financial education really. So why the rich are getting richer goes into greater, more specific details on what really But Rich Dad really taught his son and me when it came to money and investing. When it comes to money and investing, why the rich are getting richer is rich dad, poor dad, fortune graduate student. It's a graduate school for rich dad student, a warning, and an invitation. While I did my best to keep why rich dad are getting richer as simply as possible, what the rich really do is not easy or easy to explain. What the really which really do requires real financially education not taught in a school. I suggest reading Rich Dad first, then if you want to learn more why the rich are getting richer, maybe you for you. थैंक यू फॉर योर 24 years ऑफ ग्रेड. सो आज के लिए इतना ही रखते हैं. आज हमने से बेसिक इंट्रोडक्शन पढ़ा जो काफ़ी लंबा हो चुका है, बट या थोड़ा बहुत चीज़ें सीखी कि क्या मतलब है इस बुक का. कल से हम लोग अपना जो रियल कंटेंट है, रिच डैड से रिलेटेड कंटेंट है, वो स्टार्ट करेंगे. ठीक है. तो बेसिकली हम लोग इसमें बहुत कुछ पढ़ने वाले हैं. अभी तो हमने सिर्फ इंट्रोडक्शन पढ़ा जो 9 पेज का था. चैप्टर 1 जो है वो 19 से स्टार्ट है तो 65 से ख़त्म है. तो इस पेज को पढ़ने में मज़ा आएगा. इस बुक में द लैंग्वेज ऑफ दिस बुक इज़ वेरी इजी टू अंडरस्टैंड एंड वेरी इजी टू स्पीक. So you don't worry about it how you understand this. This book language is very easy to understand and easy to speak and spoke. Okay, so yeah, that's it about tomorrow. So मैंने 14 days का फ़िलहाल अभी चैलेंज स्टार्ट किया है कि मैं 14 days तक कंटिन्यूसली वीडियो रिकॉर्ड करूँगा और उसको अपलोड करूँगा क्योंकि मैं 20 days तक बुक रीड करने वाला हूँ. सो या